What's up, folks? This is Justin Garcia, also known as Master Chim, and I am here with another installment of my Hávamál series. And this is, just so you guys know, I'm taking the translation out of my favorite translation to date, which is The Wanderer's Hávamál by Jackson Crawford. I have an appreciation for Crawford's work because he is not a follower of the lore. He is not somebody who has a relationship with the gods per se, but he is somebody who is an academic. And I find it useful to have the information from which I could sort of decipher and sort of distill the wisdom from and build a relationship with myself without the translator himself, interjecting his own energy, for lack of a better term. So some people take issue with the fact that Crawford isn't a believer, he isn't a follower, but I don't. Quite the opposite. I find it refreshing that I can sort of build my own take. And I do think he is pretty consistent in his honesty when looking to translate this as functionally as he could. All right. So all that being said, today we're going to talk about verse 38. And I'm going to read verse 38. Never go even a single step without a weapon at your side. You never know when you might find yourself in need of a spear. So this is probably one of the more popular verses of the Hávamál, and it speaks to a sense of readiness and preparation and how one approaches his days. Now, we'll find that there are often situations that have occurred in our past where we found ourselves in a predicament that if we were better prepared, maybe would have come out a little bit more favorably for us. And maybe it is that time that, you went out to a party and you drank a little bit too much and, you wind up getting into a fight and, getting your bell rung. And you thought to yourself, yeah, I probably shouldn't have done that. And using that as an example, there's a collection of memories that I specifically have looking at my past. It's like, man, if I had gone into that situation again, I would have been a little bit more prepared, And I think that word is all one needs to sort of describe this sentiment. All that being said, what this verse speaks to, and this is my take on it, worth noting, this is all my take on it. I don't proclaim to be any, guide for, Asatru or Odinist wisdom or, I couldn't be bothered with trying to put that type of title on myself. But what I will say is that I have some real world experience and I can make a lot of real truth out of the information and the wisdom shared in the Hávamál. So what this verse speaks to is an accountability on the individual's part to sort of prepare himself for those things that he understands preparation is warranted, or would be warranted for. If you are somebody who leaves your house every day without the understanding that all of those things that have happened in the past could very well happen again, all those things that have happened in the past that weren't positive, that were negative, quite the contrary, and that you found yourself unprepared for, and are still very much a possibility of occurring again, all of those things, when we leave our house every single day, and that could be looked at as a representative idea, the idea of leaving our house. It could be when beginning something. It could be starting our day. It could be beginning a new endeavor. Well, however it is that you look at it, it's if you know that something that you would fare better going up against with a little preparation may very well occur, then the onus is on you to have that preparation as a part of how you conduct yourself. Now, some will say, am I somebody who's supposed to, how am I supposed to know, and we'll use this spear analogy, how am I supposed to know, when it's time to bring my spear out, when I'm going to get into a fight? Well, the sentiment is that you don't know when you're going to need your spear and when you are not. And that's part of why it's so valuable to have this type of wisdom shared with somebody, and why it's so valuable for people like us to sort of meditate on these truths. We don't know when we're going to need our spear. And it's not about, well, let me try and guess, or I guess I'll bring my spear every day in case something happens. Quite the contrary. I would say it's about building an identity whose rituals coexist, are compatible with the needs of our lives. So it's not about, make sure you bring a spear in case you get into some, need of a spear type situation. It's about why would you have a lifestyle that is ritualized with not carrying a spear, right? So whether it's the very specific, practical, direct, examples of, violence and counter violence and safety and security and things like that, if you are somebody who carries a pistol, let's say, do you always have your pistol? Do you just bring it on the days that you think you may need it? It doesn't take much to see the contradiction in that, because the whole thing about, accidents and these types of situations that people fall prey to on a daily basis, or one could argue people volunteer for on a regular basis, none of these things are so out of the realm of possibility that they could not have been prepared for beforehand. So, my take on this and what I would share as advice, given the wisdom of this verse, is we know the dangers and the trials and tribulations that await. We know the obstacles that find themselves sometimes repeatedly in our paths. We should adopt an identity and a lifestyle that's filled with rituals that allow us to best prepare for those inevitabilities. All right. For some of us, it's going to be making sure we do the work necessary to be ready for a given challenge. For others, it's carrying a spear, because we know it is better to have one and not need it than to need one and not have it. Thank you guys for listening. I appreciate you guys checking this out. If you're interested in getting Jackson Crawford's Hávamál, I will have a link down in the description, or you can just go to Amazon and Google it. I will share a link where I get a sort of credit for, it's an affiliate link. But listen, I'm not paying my bills on my YouTube content. All right, but I appreciate you guys. I've gotten a lot of feedback, good feedback from people who have been following this series. If you have a specific verse that you would like my take on, leave it in the comments below. Give me some feedback below. I've gotten so far good feedback and pretty critical feedback. I'm welcome to both of them. But if you have a request, comment, a little bit of advice, whatever it is, I appreciate the energy and the investment, in what it is that I'm doing. Appreciate you guys again. And as always, brothers and sisters, pressure to power.